Look, I don't think anyone expected what happened. When you least expect it, guys. And gaming has literally been turned upside down in regards to PlayStation and the future of its PC ports. In 2024, PlayStation's biggest franchises were all on PC already. We had God of War, Spider Man, Horizon, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, all of the top heavy hitters. The game that ended up smashing every single sales record, though, was Stellar Blade. A game that came out of left field, a game that was a brand new IP, and it didn't just beat the sales records by a little bit, guys. It completely obliterated them. We talked about this the other day when I said Sony made over $1.2 billion on Steam alone for their PC ports, but it was spearheaded by Stellar Blade. The question is, how did a brand new Sony IP destroy and defeat Sony's other biggest icons, guys? We're talking Jin Sakai. We're talking about Kratos. We're talking Spider-Man. How did it win? And what does that mean for the future of PlayStation, especially in regards to their PC ports going forward? But before we continue, guys, if you're brand new to the channel, why don't you consider hitting that subscription button so you don't miss any of my daily gaming content? And feel free to hit that like so it gets shared out to more people. And happy Thanksgiving weekend. Anyways, let's continue this story. So Shift Up, the developers of Stellar Blade, confirmed that Stellar Blade is officially the best-selling PlayStation exclusive PC launch in history, guys. That is wild. Ahead of Ghost of Tsushima, ahead of Spider-Man, ahead of God of War Horizon, and yes, Last of Us. Like I mentioned, those aren't slouched games. Those are like the key PlayStation exclusives that have been carrying the company for years. Steam charts show that nearly 200,000 peak concurrent players were on Stellar Blade, which is absurd for a single player game. Yeah, there's no multiplayer, there's no online live service action about this game. It's a true blooded single player game. For that many people to be playing, that's wild because for context, most studios celebrate hitting 30,000 concurrent players. So they knocked it out of the park with that 200,000 number, guys. Within 3 days of release, the PC version alone passed 1 million copies sold. Not players engaged, like Ubisoft will try to get you with Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows, but 1 million copies sold, guys. And total sales across PS5 and PC have now crossed 3 million. For a debut franchise, that's completely unheard of. And you know what? Good on Shift Up. Good on Stellar Blade. Now, why does this matter? Well, this isn't just a sales flex. It exposes something bigger happening in gaming. Players are tired of safe, predictable AAA design. We see it all the time, especially with stuff like Ubisoft. We want new ideas. We want new worlds. We want games that aren't trying to be cinematic movies or live service cash machines, right? That like Concord, how that failed 2 weeks within coming out. Stellar Blade delivered exactly that, guys. It had stylish action, it had tight combat, it had a clear identity, and it had a protagonist that people actually cared about. Now, it's debatable why they cared about her or not. You know, it's the whole Gooner Gate controversy and stuff like that. But the press, leading up to this game, the press, the gaming media, they downplayed this game. They hated Stellar Blade straight up. They ignored it. They dismissed it because the main character was an attractive woman, and we can't have that. It didn't get nominated for any awards. It barely got coverage, and it still became a monster hit. Players and not the media, not the shills, not the journos, they decided its success, which is what it ultimately comes down to, the consumer. Now, I want to touch on one thing because I did see somebody talk about this in somebody's live stream chat. They're like, oh, people are praising Stellar Blade because it sold 3 million copies, yet they're crapping on a game like Ghost of Yote that sold 3 million copies. Where's the hypocrisy? Why are these people praising this game while they say Yote was a flop and a failure? Well, Stellar Blade didn't have the budget that Ghost of Yote did. Stellar Blade also sold 3 million and broke a PC gaming record. It outsold Ghost of Tsushima on PC. That's why people are talking about it. People are praising the fact that it broke sales records on Steam. You dolt. They're not talking about, 3 million copies sold total. They're talking about how it broke sales records on PC. Guess what? Ghost of Yotei is not on PC yet, so we'll see how that does when it comes out. Now, let's talk about this shockwave that the industry has been suffering right here, guys. ShiftUp isn't just celebrating, they're scaling. They've begun a massive hiring push as a result of this. They're growing past 100 employees, and yeah, Stellar Blade 2 is officially in development. We're getting this sequel no matter what, but the true bombshell here is the sequel is being built as a multi-platform release. That's going to change the game. That means the next Stellar Blade can launch on PlayStation, PC, and potentially Xbox, and maybe Nintendo. If that happens, this 3 million that they sold on PlayStation and PC will probably go up to 5, if not more. I can see this being a big hit on Nintendo Switch too. This could be the moment where Sony loses another exclusive franchise, and it's one that they didn't even create internally. This was made by a South Korean team, and then they helped fund it and publish it, made it an exclusive. But what makes this even crazier is 6 months after release, this game is still pulling 8,000, 15,000 concurrent players on Steam. That's a sign of longevity, guys. That's the opposite of a hype cycle drop off. And again, it's a single player game. That doesn't happen very often with single player games. The Steam reviews are still pretty positive. I think about 98 positive. And that's nearly unheard of for AAA gaming. Like, AAA gaming has been wrung through the mud the last few years here, guys. So apparently people didn't just try Stellar Blade, they loved it. So here's where things get interesting. If Stellar Blade 2 expands the world, avoids the, I guess, mostly desert criticism that people said about the game and its NPCs and stuff, and that just plays in a desert, if it adds more gameplay variety, if it launches across multiple platforms, like I said, it could easily outsell the original by double, maybe even triple. I would say 5 million would be sold. But the biggest question remains, does Eve stay the protagonist? I think they should. I think they definitely should, because whether people want to admit it or not, she was a huge part of why players were curious enough to even try the game. And then they discovered that it was genuinely incredible. Again, for obvious reasons, Eve is a very sexualized character, very attractive, very hot, curvaceous. But I think if you change her, the franchise loses its whole entire identity, guys. I think they painted themselves in this rut where Eve needs to stay the protagonist, or else, just like what happened with Ghost of Tsushima's sequel, Ghost of Yotei, that'll happen. And we can't have that. Sony can't afford that. So yeah, a Korean studio with its first major console project just beat PlayStation's biggest franchises at their own game. And if Sony isn't paying attention, they are now, because Stellar Blade might become the next global action series without them even holding the keys. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Do you want Stellar Blade 2 to stay PlayStation exclusive, or should it go fully multi-platform? And more importantly, should Eve stay the main character? Let me know in the comments. I'll be checking them out, because I feel that decision could make or break the situation. Anyways, I'm going to leave it right there. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscription button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. I can't do without you. Again, happy Thanksgiving weekend, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Peace out.